Hey guys, and welcome back to another video where today we are going to continue my 2020 to 2021 NFL predictions. Last week on Monday, I put up a video predicting the AFC North. This week, this video is hopefully coming out on Thursday. I will be predicting the NFC North, which should be a kind of interesting division. Maybe not as interesting as many of the other divisions, but it has potential to be pretty interesting. The Vikings, a team that I could see still doing pretty well. Not exactly sure how much getting rid of Stephon Diggs is going to impact the Vikings' passing offense, or if Kirk Cousins can even play to the level that he did. The Lions are a team that I really have no idea what they're going to do. I didn't really pay attention to them that much. They didn't look terrible. They didn't look that good. They were just kind of there, in my opinion. The Packers, a team that looked pretty good. Needed a wide receiver, didn't really get it. Needed to upgrade and fix that run defense, didn't really do that. So we'll see how that goes for them this year. And then there's the Browns. Not the Browns. That was last week's video. The Bears. The Bears are a team that if they end up doing well, I don't expect it to be because of their offense. I expect it to be because their defense absolutely just carries them into a successful season. So, to start out the video's predictions, I'm going to start out predicting the Vikings. Vikings start out week 1 at home against the Packers. In this game, I think it'll be a pretty good game, and I feel like the Packers will definitely put up some points, but the Vikings will come out on top. Coming into week 2, where they will play against the Colts. Phillip Rivers, I expect to do very well this year. The Colts defense doesn't look terrible. The Vikings, a team that has a pretty good secondary, pretty good offense. This game could really go either way, but I'm going to go with the Colts. Week 3, Titans-Vikings. Titans, a team that I still expect to do well, riding off the success of last year. But against the Vikings at home, I think that the Vikings are going to come out on top in this one. Week 4, the Vikings take on the Texans. The Texans team that looked pretty good last year, but then got rid of DeAndre Hopkins in the offseason, which I think will greatly impact the way that offense functions and how well it actually works. And against the Vikings, I don't think it's going to be able to do that much, so the Vikings will win this game. Week 5, the Vikings travel to the Seattle Seahawks on Sunday night for a game, and this game would be pretty interesting. I could definitely see the Vikings putting up a fight, but I still see the Seahawks winning this one. Probably late game, because they always tend to do that. Just come back at the very end of the game somehow in like the fourth quarter. And I think they'll do that in this game against the Vikings. Week 6, Falcons-Vikings. The Falcons are a team that I have been high on quite a lot every year, and they tend to disappoint me a lot every year. But in this game against the Vikings, I think it will actually be a pretty good game, and I think the Falcons will actually win this game. It'll be very close, though. Probably a little low scoring. So week 8, Vikings coming off their bye week from week 7, going to Lambeau to play the Packers. This is a game that I could really see going either way. The Vikings offense and the Packers defense. Packers offense, Vikings defense. I don't really know how much they match up with each other. But coming off the bye week with the Vikings more rested than the Packers, I think they'll come out with a win. So in week 9, they take on the Lions. The Lions are a team that I don't really have too much hope for this season, and especially at home in Minneapolis, I think the Vikings will win this one. So week 10, the Vikings take on the Bears on Monday Night Football. And while the Vikings offense looks really good and the Bears offense looks okay, I mean, the Vikings offense might actually not be nearly as good as it was last year, but I don't expect it to be bad or anything like that. But against the Bears, I think the Bears' defense will somehow manage to carry them to a win on Monday Night Football here in Week 10. So then we go into Week 11. Week 11, the Cowboys, coming off of their bye week, travel to Minneapolis to play the Vikings on Sunday Night Football. This game, again, I could really see going either way. It'll definitely be a close one, but as always, I like to give advantage to the team coming off of the bye week, and in this case, I think that advantage will pay off, and the Cowboys will beat the Vikings in Week 11. So 5-5 after 10 games, not doing that great. In the division, though, they're 3-1, so that's not bad. Heading into Week 12, where they play the Panthers at home. For the Panthers, I expect a pretty good year. Their defense doesn't look as amazing as it had in the past. Their offense without Cam Newton might not be as great as it was, but Teddy Bridgewater, I think, will actually do well with the Panthers, but not well enough to beat the Vikings here in Week 12. Week 13, Jaguars-Vikings. Like I said before, the Jaguars just took their team and completely tore it to shreds, so they're not going to get a win here against the Vikings. Week 14, Vikings-Buccaneers. The Buccaneers, a team that many people expect to do an amazing job. I think they're a good team. I think they're a playoff team, but I don't know if I'd say they'd win their division. We'll get to that in a later video. But here, coming off their bye week at home, I still think they're going to be able to get this win against the Vikings. So Tom Brady wins his first game in the predictions anyway. So Week 15, the Bears travel to Minneapolis to take on the Vikings. The Bears' defense carried them through Week 10 against the Vikings in Minneapolis. I don't think it will have quite the same effect, so the Vikings will win that game. Vikings-Saints on Friday. I'm not sure if that's the actual game date. Well, if it's Week 16, it very well might be the actual game date. But Vikings-Saints Friday night would be a very interesting and kind of odd game. And I think that this game would actually be pretty close, kind of high scoring. And I think the Saints come out on top. Week 17, Vikings-Lions. The Vikings are going to beat the Lions here to finish their year 9-7. Not a terrible year, not a great year. Probably hurt by by trading away Stephon Diggs. I expect in the next year or two, they will probably take the charge in that division. So now we move on to the Bears. The Bears, a team that their defense could carry them pretty far, but I don't know how far. Week 1, they take on the Lions. I think I'm going to give the Lions their first win here. Coming off right away at home, I expect them to do pretty well. If it was the Bears at home, I would probably choose them. It's really a toss-up. Week 2, Giants-Bears. Now, if we were talking offensively, I would have no idea who I was going to pick. Neither offense really looks that impressive or like they could really do that much damage. But in terms of defense, the Giants' defense, I wouldn't say they really have one. They don't give up the most points, but it's not a very good defense. And the Bears' defense is definitely enough to handle the Giants. So they'll get the win here in Week 2. Week 3, Bears-Falcons. Again, I'm usually pretty high on the Falcons. And when you put the Falcons up against the Bears, I think most people would probably give them a pretty good chance here too. So I've got them winning at home in Week 3. Colts versus the Bears here in Week 4. I think the Bears' defense will do a pretty decent job of holding the Colts down for a little bit, but I don't think their offense is going to be able to pick up on the opportunities given to them by their defense, so the Colts will still win this one. Week 5, Buccaneers-Bears. The Bears' defense versus an offense that I expect to be pretty good this year, and very good, especially even compared to the Buccaneers defense, which everyone, at least as far as I know, can probably see the holes in the Buccaneers defense. But on their offense, I think it looks pretty good. And against the Bears defense, I think they can still do a pretty good job, but the Bears can't really do a good job offensively against anyone. So the Buccaneers win in Week 5. Week 6, Bears-Panthers. The Panthers have some potential. The Bears defense is pretty stifling, and I think it should be able to handle the Panthers' offense. The Bears' offense should be able to score some points against the Panthers, so I'll give this one in Week 6 to the Bears, leaving them 3-5 after playing half of their games. Week 7, Monday Night Football, they play the Rams. The Rams, a team that decided to switch to that absolutely horrific-looking logo that I absolutely hate, versus the Bears. The Rams offense last year, the Rams as a whole were extremely up and down. I never knew if they were going to win a game or if they were going to lose a game before it started. It could really go either way. They started out 3-0, went 3-3 after that, and then it just all kind of went downhill, I guess, from there. Monday Night Football here. I guess I will give this one still to the Rams, because as up and down as they are, I think against the Bears they could put up a pretty good fight. Week 8, Saints, Bears. Saints team that I expect their offense to do very well. Against the Bears defense, it's going to be closer, but the Saints defense definitely better than the Bears offense, so the Saints will win here. So if you can tell, a lot of these losses for the Bears that are coming up are mostly due to their offense's lack of amazing potential. I don't really see anything that could make them very good this year. But, maybe they can change my mind. Week 9, Bears, Titans. Now, this is a very winnable game for the Bears. The Titans got into the playoffs last year and looked very good. But if you think about how they got into the playoffs, it was basically just Derrick Henry the entire time. And I think the Bears have a good enough run defense to be able to hold him down, and a good enough secondary to be able to put up a fight in the passing game. So I think the Bears will beat the Titans in Week 9. So we already have the Bears winning Monday Night Football against the Vikings in Week 10. Week 11 is their bye week. So Week 12, coming off of their bye week, they play the Packers. The Packers offense doesn't look terrible, but it doesn't really look that good. I mean, there's not really any big, huge names. They've got a good wide receiver, good running back, good quarterback, but not much depth at wide receiver. The offensive line, not as good as it was. The run defense, pretty abysmal. And Bears coming off of a little rest there, I think they'll beat the Packers here. So Week 13, Lions travel to play against the Bears. The Bears at home with their defense, I think, should be able to handle the Lions pretty well. It'll be a low-scoring game, but I think the Bears will come out on top. Week 14, Texans-Bears. Now, like I said, the Texans got rid of DeAndre Hopkins. Makes me a little worried about how well this team's offense will do. And against the Bears' defense, it could be even more of an issue, but I really don't see the Bears scoring very many points against the Texans. So I still think the Texans will be able to break through and come out on top. Week 16, Bears travel to play against the Jaguars. The Jaguars tore apart their team. Their defense isn't really that good. Their offense isn't that good, so got the Bears coming out on top here. So Packers-Bears in Week 17. Bears at home, looking to go 8-8, hoping not to go 7-9, trying to get to that 500 mark. And here in Week 17, I think that they will still be able to do it, and they will beat the Packers in Week 17 in a low-scoring, I believe, game. If their secondary can hold up against the Packers and their line can stifle them a little bit, they'll definitely be able to win, because that Packers run defense is not great, and their secondary is okay. I mean, it's not the best, but it's definitely pretty good. But I still think the Bears will be able to beat the Packers there, leaving them at 8-8 at the end of the year. So the next team is the Lions. Right now I have them at 1-3 with the games that we have played with them so far. Starting off at Week 2, the Lions travel to take on the Packers in Lambeau. Now, the Packers are a team that definitely has some issues that they didn't need to iron out. I think this early against a team like the Lions, they will still be able to get wins pretty well. Cardinals-Lions, I have the Cardinals as a team that could definitely do pretty well. Their offense looks even better than it already did with DeAndre Hopkins added on. They dropped an absolutely terrible contract with David Johnson in exchange for him as well. Pairing him with Andy Isabella and, of course, Larry Fitzgerald could make a very dangerous wide receiver group. And I think that will take down the Lions as well as a pretty young and old defense from the Cardinals will get them the win. Week 4, Saints-Lions. I don't really see anything on that Lions defense that would be able to hold the Saints down. Like, I didn't really see much of the Lions at all in, like, big highlights or good games or anything. They just didn't really seem like they were that big this year, and the Saints definitely were doing well this year, and their offense could blow up the Lions, so they'll get this win. So coming off their bye in Week 5, Week 6, they travel to take on the Jaguars, who I have not winning any games so far, and unfortunately for the Jaguars, that trend will continue, as the Lions coming off their bye week are able to defeat a team with a crippled defense and a mediocre offense. Week 7, Lions-Falcons. This is a game that could be pretty good, but high on the Falcons. They're 2-0 right now. As a matter of fact, 3 of the teams in the NFC South, of the games that they have had so far in the predictions, have not lost a single game. The other one, the Panthers, have lost every game so far, but they haven't really done that many yet. So we'll see how that pans out in a future video. Lions, Falcons. I think the Falcons will be able to come out on top against the Lions. Week 8, Colts coming off their bye week to play against the Lions. I think the Colts offense could be pretty good this year, and their defense definitely looks pretty good, so they'll get this win, especially since they're coming off their bye week. Week 10, Redskins-Lions. This is a game that I could really see going either way. This game's always a fun game whenever it's on to watch. So this year, I think the Redskins are the better team, so they will come out on top in Week 10. Week 11, the Lions travel to take on the Panthers. Panthers team that can do pretty well. Teddy Bridgewater would be able to make a pretty good run, and I think against the Lions, he'll definitely be able to win. It's definitely a winnable game, and he will win it. So sitting at 2-10, not a great year for the Lions right now. See if that improves against the Texans. Thursday night football. I mean, I really have no idea how the Lions are going to do this year, because they always have health problems with their team. By week 12, they're definitely going to be beaten up a little bit. A couple of players missing. And with the Texans, got Deshaun Watson still on the team, even if he doesn't have Hopkins anymore. Still has a few good pieces on that team that he could throw to and have support him, so the Texans will win here. Packers-Lions in Week 14. As much as I want to say that the Lions will win this game at home, I really don't see anything that could make me consciously, logically make that decision. I mean, the Packers' defense doesn't look that great in terms of run defense. Their offense is definitely missing some things, but there's not really anything I see on the Lions that really impresses me against the Packers, so the Packers will win it here. Sitting at 2-12, they take on the Titans. The Titans, a team that I think could play pretty well against the Lions. I don't think the Lions would play amazingly against the Titans, but who knows? Again, I would definitely be surprised if they won the division or came second in the division, but it's very likely that teams do better or worse than what I say. I don't expect it to be too different in terms of standings, but the Lions are one of those teams that could definitely change up the standings. So are the Bengals in the AFC North. When I predicted that, I'm not really sure where they could land, but I still don't expect them to come out on top, nor do I the Lions. The Lions coming into this game against the Titans will lose again, leaving them at 2-13. And against the Buccaneers, I don't really see them winning this one either. So, really bad year, 2-14. I could definitely see them in real life doing better than this. Winnable game against the Cardinals, probably a pretty good game there. Winnable game against the Redskins. Winnable game against the Texans. Maybe the Panthers game. The Bears games are definitely winnable. So there's a lot of winnable games that I just don't really see going in their favor, but they definitely could. So it could be a much better year for the Lions. So now we're going to the Packers, 2-4, with their current record compared to the full completed records of the other teams. They are currently sitting in third place. So coming into a game against the Saints Sunday Night Football, the Saints against the Packers would be a pretty interesting game. And I really think that it would be a fun, high-scoring game where both high-scoring or low-scoring. I don't really see it being a middle game. The way that these teams are set up really makes that it's either going to be high-scoring or low-scoring because they're really based big secondaries for both teams and then more passing-oriented offenses. But the Packers seem to be focusing a lot more on the run now than they have before, which is kind of ironic considering that the current state of their run defense. And here on Sunday Night Football at home, I think the Saints will still come out on top. Week 4, Falcons-Packers, Monday Night Football. I was going to give this to the Packers, and I was thinking about it, and I thought Packers definitely had potential here, but then I thought that the Falcons look like a team that might actually run the ball more this year. And against that Packers run defense, especially under the stress that is Monday Night Football, I think the Falcons will be able to win this one. Week 6, Packers-Buccaneers. Luckily for the Packers, Buccaneers don't really look like they'll have an amazing rushing attack. And I think the Packers will just barely be able to hold them down. It'll definitely be a close game. I expect this game to be high scoring, but I have the Packers winning coming off the bye. So right now, they can still come in first by 1. It's not going to be a very high, in terms of record, division. Doesn't seem like, at least for their number 1 team. So, who knows? So, week 7, Packers play the Texans. That could be a pretty good game. I expect the Packers to come out on top. Don't really have a rushing attack over there with the Texans, and the Texans' defense is pretty good, but I think the Packers should be able to handle them. Week 9, Packers-49ers. We saw how Packers-49ers went last year, the times that they played them, and I expect the same thing to happen this year. They haven't really fixed that run defense, so the 49ers will continue to just run all over this Packers team. Packers-Colts, Week 11. This is a game that I could see this going both ways, but in this case, Week 11, I got my money on the Packers. Packers coming out on top in a pretty close game, kind of middle-scoring game, 20-24 those types of games. That's what I expect from this one. It's Week 13, Eagles-Packers. The Eagles team that looks like they have a lot of potential here, but their rushing attack doesn't really exist, luckily for them. I think Carson Wentz could probably hold his own against this Packers defense, but I also think Packers offense could do pretty well against an Eagles defense that I don't really know if I know any big names on that Eagles defense. Like, at least on the Packers, I know like Zaire Alexander and big names like that, but I don't really know if I know anyone on the Eagles, so I got to give this one to the Packers. I think they can handle the opponent's defense better. Week 15, Panthers-Packers. Good game, I believe. This could be pretty close game, pretty fun game to watch. Kind of lots of passing I can see in this game, but even though there is passing, a lot of the passes from the Panthers are likely to be screen plays or short plays to Christian McCaffrey. So I think that will do in the Packers. Week 16, Titans-Packers. Titans, again, a team that likes to run the ball a lot. So against the Packers, they'll just run all over them. Leaving the Packers right now at 6-9. It seems that I missed something. Down here at Week 10, Jaguars-Packers. This game I could really see going either way. Again, the rushing defense is a big issue. So, but I really don't think the Jaguars' defense is going to make up for the one fallacy of the Packers' defense. So I think the Packers still come out on top, leaving them at 7-9, third place in the division behind the Vikings and the Bears. So the Vikings coming out on top is something that I kind of expect to happen. The Bears coming in second, I can see them coming in second or third. It really depends on how well that defense carries them. The Packers their record depends almost entirely on how well their offense can mesh together this year and if their defense can manage to actually stop the run this time. And the Lions just have to really impress me. There's a lot of winnable games for them this year, so they could push themselves up higher in the division. But right now, as I see it, with the Vikings number 1 at 9-7, Bears at 8-8 for number 2, Packers third at 7-9, and the Lions dwelling at the very bottom, going 2-14. So I hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you think that the if you have different predictions, definitely leave them in the comments below. I'll look at them. If there's any reasoning behind something that you think could be wrong in my predictions, please tell me down below. I definitely look at it and take it into consideration for my thoughts going forward. Hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you did, leave a like down below. Maybe subscribe, but it's all up to you. See you guys next week where I will be predicting the AFC South season. So, see you guys next time. Bye.